Isak opens up with an interesting philosophy. Our younger selves yearn for a love akin to a fairy tale. He opines that reality gradually starts to hit, and everything worth believing in becomes dull. He boards a train and throws his head into his arms, seemingly distressed. Em tries to pin when it became so unusual to find a soulmate. She believes humans are not made for solitary and entertains the prospect of finding that one person that could be the right match, someone bound to stay forever. She thinks this as she packs a bag and contemplates where the next course leads. Isak is still on the train, deciding he's let go of the concept of his ideal love story, chunking it down to a delusion only him has. Still on the concept of love, Isak and his father, Lars, are at the dining table. The father attributes love to the likings of perfect toast. Crisps, perfect heat, center, and how well the butter is applied are all important factors leading to the perfect toast. Such delicacies don't come easy, and he advises Isak that when he finds them, he has to hold on tight, else it crumble and disappear. He goes to crush and crumble the toast he had for demonstration, and an exasperated Isak chastises Lars, saying people can't live on toast alone. He tries to remind Lars balanced diet is a real thing, but Lars can't see what the fuss is about. Toasts are delicious, and nothing has to be so complicated. The presenter on the stereo asks listeners to guess the name of the band that are currently playing. Isak eagerly grabs his pen, and his father is about to provide the name, stating he and Isak's mother used to listen to them. Isak excitedly writes it down in the crossword puzzle he has, and gives his father a high five. The next scene shows Isak working a dissatisfactory job at a stall in the amusement park. At least he has a female admirer, a coworker, hoping to catch more of his time after work. Isak, Lars, and a friend of Isak's are out for some drinks. Lars' upbeat sense of humor steams through in such a way that Isak's friend is impressed. Makes him wish he had a cool dad like Isak's. Isak, on the other hand, is trying hard not to be too embarrassed by his father's antics. At home, Isak goes about making and eating toasts. From the way he munches, it's safe to say they're far from perfect. He picks up his phone and dials Erica, a coworker, asking her if she's free. Isak wakes up to Erica chiming his name. They're in bed and close enough to depict a night of previous passion. Isak notices Erica is wearing his ring, which makes him uncomfortable. He asks if he can have it back, but she's in the mood to babble instead about the prospects of their future marriage. Isak just wants his ring back. While trying to see Erica out, Isak runs into his dad, who had also brought in a lady friend for the night. The woman asks if Isak and Lars are roommates, but Isak comes right out with it, telling her Lars is his father. Lars tries to play it cool, saying he and Isak are best buddies. The encounter only gets more awkward with the woman realizing Lars has lied about his age to her, seeing he has a 24-year-old son. Isak lashes out. He sees why his mother left his dad. Lars doesn't take lightly to the comment, and both visitors watch Lars get a little aggressive with his son, as he reminds Isak he's not the parent totally absent from his life. He would prefer not to be tagged irresponsible, and Isak offers a half-hearted apology before walking out. The two women take their leave as well almost immediately. It's another day at work. Isak notices a group of women chattering away. One in particular turns his way, then approaches. She orders an old-fashioned, then quickly changes her mind, feeling the need to be surprised. Isak takes one long look at the brunette with her sultry eyes and sly smile, and the next scene depicts them in the heat of passion on a lift. They take the attraction back to the woman's apartment, where it's abruptly interrupted by what she sees. Her partner is stark and blindfolded, and Em is half-naked to entertain him. He shouldn't be at home or with someone else, and neither should she. Em and Isak stare at themselves as the two cheating couple push blame and yell excuses. They make a run for it into the darkened streets with Em still hand gripping a bottle of champagne. They get a distance and Isak helps her with his jacket. She reveals she's a bit of a kleptomaniac, so Isak shouldn't be expecting his jacket back. They brush on the situation of the couple that has brought them together. Maybe the couple have reconciled, and they needed a bizarre incident to open their eyes. If so, Isak and Em have been successful catalysts. Isak probes to know who the man was, but Em states it's a long story she's not up to talking about. She takes a swig from the stolen bottle and asks Isak to tell her who the woman was. Isak explains she was a one-night stand, and he's one for just casual encounters. Em expresses there has to be some flamboyant excuse to his lifestyle. Her pics are rough childhood, or he's a fidget. Isak decides he doesn't have much to defend, but remarks it's not so easy to properly meet someone. He wonders where they're headed to, as they're currently aimlessly walking the lonely streets. Em has no idea either, and Isak proposes he'll stick by her side. Together, they'll be wanderers. She smiles, and they hold hands. What follows after is fleeting conversations and heartfelt laughter. They're seated on some rocks that overlook the city when Isak asks again where she's headed. She tells him she's off to Tornio to steal a cello for her sister, and will be there for as long as she'd like. Isak decrees he's now on a similar path, and they could go together. As they talk on the next path, flash scenes of them having fun at the amusement park come into play. Them on some swings, them on the roller coaster. Isak sees Em to her house. The metal door is slowly opening, while Em gives Isak a mischievous look. Eager to know what's on her mind, he asks her to share. She leans in to tease him with a kiss, their lips only grazing and not fully locking. Satisfied, she pulls away and disappears under the garage door that is now pushing down. Isak stares about in confusion until the metal door lifts and Em is standing in the passerway, welcoming him for a proper kiss. She announces the car for their getaway is ready, and this catches Isak off guard, so she presses the time is now. If he's coming with her, the car awaits. Isak makes his choice to go. Little do they know, their exit hasn't gone unnoticed. They get into the convertible, stereo blaring, making their way out to the outskirts of their home. They take a break, pitched up with food, and Isak asks Em what their plans are. Where are they headed to? Em is surprised at his question because she knows she's told him before. She reminds him they're off to Tornio, and Isak tries to come to terms that she's being serious. Em questions if he's backing out, and although he's still visibly lost, he perseveres to stick by her side. Back at home, Em's mom tries to reach him via phone calls, but she keeps getting redirected to voicemails. It was her sister who watched Em and Isak take the car, and now she's seated by their worried mother and frantic father. The father complains the car they took is an antique and is worth a lot to him, so he needs his daughter to call back immediately. The sister has no idea where Em could be, as clueless as the parents. Em and Isak find outdoor spaces to get to know themselves better. Turns out they were both in sports swimming. They rotate the baton, asking each other questions. But when Isak goes personal, asking Em what her relationship with her dad is like, she shuts down and Isak cues to put their conversation on a different route. They're seated on a bench that overlooks a lake, and Isak asks Em if she's up for a swim. He asks if she would go in first to test how deep the water is, and Em whims that decision is left in the hands of a game of rock, paper, scissors. Isak loses, meaning he'll be the one to have the first dive. He pleads for a redo, but a done deal is a done deal. He says it was a joke, he wasn't expecting to be taken literally. Dusk has come, and it's silly to be swimming at such time. Yet, the adventurous youths take off their clothes and rush into the water. They splash around in the water, and Isak playfully picks Em up to throw her back in. She doesn't float back up, and Isak starts to panic, calling out frantically to her. She keeps him under suspense for several moments before wafting back up at the other side of the water. Isak isn't happy with the prank, but Em is more intent on keeping their swimming escapade interesting. They retire for the night, and Em loses the game of rock, paper, scissors for the bed. Isak is ready to be the gentleman and have her take the bed regardless. But a done deal is a done deal. By daylight, they're back on the road, visiting new sights like a suspension bridge that offers the view of rocks and streaming water. Isak is driving when he gets a call from Erica he chooses to ignore. A text follows immediately after, and Em asks who Erica is. He explains she's a coworker and would need to get back to her. At her wish, Isak hands Em the phone, and she throws it out the convertible. A stunned Isak stops the car to look for the phone. After a hopeless search, he whines about how Em expects him to reach his dad and work. Em nonchalantly suggests a payphone, and Isak decides there that Em is nuts. Hopelessly, he gets back in the car and drives them to the nearest payphone. An amused Em watches him call in sick. When he's done, he casually tells Em her erratic behavior won't fly, and Em dampers. Meanwhile, Felicia, Em's sister, meets up with Excelia, Em's best friend. Excelia hands over a key to Felicia, and Felicia asks Excelia if she has any updates on Em's whereabouts. Their conversation reveals that Em is truly erratic, but has crazy luck on her side. Neither her best friend nor sister can boast of truly knowing Em, as she keeps them in the dark. When Em is under pressure, she does crazy things, constantly pushing towards the most forbidden. While Em and Isak are seemingly living their best life, finding a haven in an abandoned complex building, Felicia searches for answers. She flips through Em's diary and finds an entry where Em admits she wishes she had her life more together like Felicia's. Felicia recalls the day she and her older sister were in bed, listening to a record. Em asked what instrument was playing, and Felicia answered it was the cello. She let on she wanted to get and learn how to play one. But the instrument isn't easy to come across. She'd have to buy one from a known woman in Tornio that makes a limited number per year. She planned to ask the money from their father and hopes to pay back later. The older sibling instinct kicked in, and Em offered to get her one. Felicia remembers the day filled with giggles and sisterly care, Em stroking her hair. To think her diary entry has her admitting Felicia had everything while she had nothing. Felicia picks up the next diary and finds an entry for June 7th stating Em planned to disappear. She felt Felicia was a better friend to her own friends, and it made her feel lonely when in company. Felicia recalls a day with friends. They were all out in a hotel doing except Felicia and Em. The friends teased and Felicia got the courage to fit in. Em remained free and very aware of the incessant teasing for her choice. They all stepped out to the club and Em followed, but it didn't take away the feeling of being boring and odd. Everyone else seems to be breezily living the normal, wild teenage dream, except Em. Only her diary knows how she truly felt. But now so does Felicia. She takes out all the diary notebooks and stuffs them in a bag, seemingly about to set out somewhere. Em and Isak are at a zoo park, comparing themselves to animals. Em depicts Isak as a migratory bird, harmless and in her care. The similes continue back at another trailer home they're lounging in for a while. Em compares him to puzzle pieces that when put together would paint the sky and ocean. Isak thinks puzzle pieces and thinks complicated, and he doubts he's really the complicated one out of them both. He opines if he has to represent the ocean and sky, then she represents the desert. The type with a dog buried in with sand no one has yet to find. She's triggered by the statement and storms out of the house, blocking the door with her weight so Isak is locked in. While she smokes a cigarette and holds him hostage, she voices his only way out is the code: come clean. Isak starts to get vulnerable with his past. A mean kid with only a day's knowledge of karate, even though his friends think he's a black belter. He summoned the courage to start having casual relations with girls at age 15. His driving factor is no one will live eternally for it to really matter. With a hard swallow, he admits he's never loved someone. The door flings open and Em rushes into his arms with an urgent desire. Clothes come undone and passion takes control, citing their first intimate moment. Felicia is crawled in bed, still fixed on her sister's diary entries. She's on June 24th. Em remarks that day as one she knew beforehand would make her feel ever inferior and envious. But she wouldn't let it matter as sisters are supposed to support each other. She showed up for Felicia's concert and suffered through her sister having the entire spotlight. Their proud parents were present too, embracing Felicia once she was done with the performance. At dinner with some guests, everyone remained gushing over Felicia, who had successfully inherited her father's talent of music. Where Em is concerned, Felicia had all the right traits while she was the black sheep. Dark thoughts have brewed from even when she was much younger. She was afraid to face reality or tell anyone she was afraid. Older now, there's so much she wants to finally change. Em and Isak have run out of money to sponsor their eccentric movements and are pushed to doing street performances to try and draw in some loose change. Isak plays a mini piano and sings while Em dances. They gather 22 nor, which doesn't even cover up the expenses for the piano. Em decides they'll need to do something else to draw in cash. The next scene shows them in the car and alludes they're about to take a much darker turn to make the money they need. Em voices it only adds to their adventure, and Isak, ever the pushover, agrees he'll fall through. They drive to the nearest gas station and put on face caps and handkerchiefs to obscure their faces, weapons in a tight grip. Isak is in charge of keeping the cashier threatened and rummaging the register for money, while Em checks the shelves for other supplies they'll need. A customer comes in, oblivious to the robbery, and successfully hands even more cash to Isak to purchase a pack of menthols. They're thrilled as they zoom off, screaming and hooting like they've just won the lottery. It remains all fun and games for the duo, goofing around in bars and taking dance cues in the park. As for the robbery, it's far from a one-time thing. Felicia goes through diary entry July 9th. On that day, she and Em were in the company of some music friends. Em was stuck talking to a guy that Felicia wanted Em to keep entertaining. Em tolerated the drone about music long enough till the guy tried to read her like a tarot card before making a pass at her. She got upset and broke the record plate he handed to her, easily making everyone else in the room gasp at the audacity. As Em stormed off, Felicia went after her to give her a piece of her mind. She called Em an attention seeker, desperate for it, because she's not worth much more. Felicia told her Em was being selfish, but it was fine because no one cares about her either. Felicia walked away, and a broken M was left simmering on the stairs. The incident sparked M's sudden urge to pack her bags and take off, determined to prove Felicia's words wrong. In M's July entry, she talked about possibly quitting smoking, but that's clearly not currently working out. After a few drags, she gets in bed and listens to music, disinterested and cold when Isak tells her he's met some new people they can hang out with. Isak goes back by himself to join the new people who've brought a barbecue. He told them he's a German tourist and sticks to the accent in his fictitious narration on how they've ended up wherever they currently are. M does decide to show up and acts like she's already pals with the guy from the new group. She casually tells the new guy she's on a getaway and states she brought Isak along on a whim. She asks him for a lighter, and he helps her light her cigarette. Isak watches, then tries to buddy up with the girl from the group, activating his silly Isak mode to make her laugh. It's M's turn to watch long enough for her to decide she's going back inside. Isak doesn't see how that's fair as she started it. M retorts it's possible she just wasn't made to last with anyone and starts to walk away. Isak apologizes to the group for the drama, then goes after him. He catches her in the open space, away from the group and the house they're crashing in. Still in playful mode, he asks M if she hates his German accent, and she tags him lame. Undeterred, he keeps his charm and German accent and manages to have her in his arms giggling, as he chants that she's his girlfriend. When the high has settled, she basically makes him swear an oath that he can't ever abandon her. Isak promises they're a team and seals his loyalty with a kiss. M's diaries reveal to Felicia that she was having an affair with her psychologist who is married. It's the same man from the much earlier scene that M was with when Isak and his wife walked in on them. In her entries, she acknowledges she's on a forbidden path, but still believes in the concept of finding that one person in the whole universe that would truly understand her. Her psychologist isn't that person. M and Isak share a moment of intimacy out the hood of her father's car in the privacy of nighttime. M and Isak level up to intruding into someone's home to steal their groceries. Isak helps hoist M into the house through a high window, and she seemingly opens the front door so they can both have access to loot. They rummage a bit, Isak hoping to find some cash. They end up goofing around and having sex in the master bedroom against Isak's initial worry that the occupants could be back any minute. Choosing passion and desire makes them lose track of time. It's dusk when the occupant comes home, waiting by the stairs in a seat with a shotgun. Isak finds him and tries to explain they're just hungry kids and the house was empty. He apologizes and states he and his partner in crime will quietly leave, but the man points the gun at Isak, so he stays put while he makes a call. The man hears footsteps from upstairs and Isak takes the distraction as his cue to try and fight the gun off the man. The man reacts back and violently, trying to strangle Isak with his gun. Isak manages to escape to the kitchen and the man tails, getting the upper hand once again as he straddles Isak to strangle him with his big hands. Isak struggles under the man's mercilessness, feeling himself fighting desperately to breathe. Next thing is the sound of a trigger and blood spatter on Isak's face. M was the one to pull the trigger and a stunned Isak pushes the body off him. Once the initial shock wears off, Isak washes the man's blood off his face and sets up the body so it looks like the man took his. M pours gasoline around the place, and they set the house on fire before driving off. For the first time since the start of their adventure, their ride is a quiet and solemn one. They make it far into some more lonely districts where there's nothing but fields and roads, and take a break. Isak is still so shaken that he now suddenly smokes. M remarks he's been quiet and needs him to say something. He expresses they've gone too far and wants to go home. M tries to stop him by putting her hands on him. When that doesn't work, she pleads for him to help her, but Isak states he can't do that. Defeated, she yells at him to leave if he wishes, and he gets into her father's car and drives off. M is left in the middle of nowhere, screaming at him to return. She breaks down crying and in disarray, but Isak drives back and pulls her into the embrace of a kiss. Felicia confronts the psychologist about his affair with M. She's brought all of M's diaries to put him in a corner. The psychologist agrees to tell her what she wants, but insists secrets cannot leave the room. M and Isak are lodging in a motel when M notices a police officer asking questions that will lead to them. They take off running before the officer can get to them. M's father gets a call with the news that M is wanted by the police. Some officers will be coming over to the house for interrogations, but M's father isn't told on the phone what exactly his daughter is wanted for. Lars tries to reach his son via phone calls, but it goes straight to voicemails. He apologizes for the fight they had and wishes Isak to come home soon. Paranoia starts to overwhelm the duo. They startle at flashing headlights behind, thinking they belong to a cop's vehicle, but it ends up being a motorcycle driver just trying to get ahead of their crawling vehicle. Isak tells Em they should get rid of the car as it would be an investigator's biggest clue in trying to find them. An older man finds them on his property and assumes they're lost travelers. He invites them into his home and gives them food. While they eat, his wife present, the local news comes on the radio and the presenter starts to talk about a man they found in an arson. Luckily, the older man tunes the radio to a different channel, stating he would rather listen to something less gloomy. He takes a liking interest in their convertible and Isak gets the idea to trade cars with the man. They've successfully switched cars, but the paranoia remains. Isak and Em are having a meal in a cafe when Isak notices another customer with a newspaper, keeps throwing glances their way. The customer steps outside to make a call, and Isak cues they'll need to leave immediately. They realize they've made headlines in the newspaper. An investigator has reached Lars and asks questions that makes him flare up. He asserts he's never seen him. He gets frantic and aggressive, just wanting the officer to find his son. He calms down enough to reveal he knows many of Isak's friends, but doesn't know any of them to be that capable of leading his son astray. He breaks down at the thought of Isak hurting someone, even when the investigator tries to advise him to not take his mind there, as they still don't know the intensity of the situation. The investigator voices Lars has a duty to contact him should Isak decide to reach out. The car's engine gives up despite their efforts. Isak and Em make a choice to discard the vehicle by pushing it off a cliff. They camp out in the woods, close to the river. Em wants to know why Isak chose to come along, and Isak states he's always wanted to take off. He'd never been abroad like his peers and used to lie to fit in. He also shares his mom contacts him from time to time, but there's no proper relationship. Felicia is engrossed in Em's entries. The diaries litter the floor when her father comes in to ask how she's faring. Felicia notes the psychologist asked her to talk to her parents. Her father reluctantly reveals that Em was adopted by them when she was 8. She'd been abandoned in a flat in Gothenburg by her biological mother, and Felicia's parents found and took her in. Felicia isn't pleased she was kept in the dark about this, and asks if she was eternally supposed to remain in the dark, should things not have gone sour. She walks out on her dad, too angry to hear what else he might have to say. By the campfire, Em has revealed a chunk of her past to Isak. Now he knows she was abandoned and picked up by a perfect family when she was 8. She's struggled with identity crisis in their midst, and finally got the courage to remove herself from them. She admits even though a lot of crazy stuff has happened at the course of their trips, it's the best she's felt. They're only allowed a moment of sleep before barking dogs startle them awake and send them running. The police and their search dogs start parading the woods. The citizens are alerted of Em and Isak's crimes, warning that they might be armed and dangerous. Em and Isak stake out with a shotgun they've managed to get in their possession. Em concedes they can't keep running, and Isak advises they should get some rest as they'll figure out what to do when they wake up. Em wakes up with an idea that involves witnesses. They call home, Isak reaching out to his father and Em reaching out to Felicia. They both apologize for the emotional distress their loved ones must be experiencing, but express there's no turning back. Lars and Felicia beg from their respective houses for Isak and Em to come back to them, but the duo have bigger plans. Isak reports a stolen white Volvo, leading the police into a car chase with them. Em is still armed with a shotgun and makes it known to the officer by firing a shot in her direction. They ditch the car and continue on foot into the woods, down to the river where they've prepared a boat. They paddle their way into the heart of the river. The police are in their numbers with a helicopter hovering as well. Isak is embracing Em, who has the shotgun positioned towards her. He's close enough so when it's fired, they'll both go down. They tell each other "I love you," and Em pulls the count of 3. The police officers witness their bodies drop in the river. It was a ruse to have the police and their loved ones off their track for good. Both Em and Isak successfully swim underwater to the other shoreside, where they have a new getaway car waiting. Em's family go to retrieve what's been recovered from Em's belongings in the river. They're told forensics analysis will need to hold off for a bit. Felicia meets with Lars, and they console each other. For Lars, Isak was an unexpected pregnancy turned his best friend. Felicia received a delivery she opens at Lars' place. It's a cello, and she knows Em has sent it. Meanwhile, the duo are still on their wanderlust, no known direction.